Hi, you guys. My name is Jillian Matthews, and I did my report on Dreaming in Cuban by Christina Garcia. This book takes place in Cuba and New York during the Cuban Revolution. Um, so basically, throughout the 1960s and 1970s. Throughout the book and chapters, the viewpoint changes from one character to the next. We hear a very strong female presence throughout most of the book, and all of the main characters are women. During certain points in the book, uh, we review the past of Celia, which is the grandmother figure in the story. And when this happens, we're basically looking at her past and her history. The book follows all of these women's life during this time, often referencing things like family problems, mental illness, different political issues, and spirituality. Just for review, the four main characters are as follows: Celia, Pilar, Lourdes, and Felicia. Celia is the grandma or abuela. The book starts off with her sitting on the porch watching the ocean horizon to ensure she wasn't being invaded. She is then visited by the spirit of her recently passed husband. She goes to him and follows him into the ocean as he disappears. This entire time she's seeming like she's in a trance, and then she snaps out of it. When she snaps out of it, she sort of is in a state of, should I just let go and drown in the ocean, basically? But she doesn't. She ends up going back up to her porch and continuing to watch for invaders. She's not very religious at all, but she is very spiritual. We see this in acts that she does when one of her daughters dies later in the book. Her visit from her dead husband, and she also has telepathic conversations with her granddaughter Pilar. She's very big on Castro. Like, they say in the book that it's almost like she's in love with him. And she's also very much for the Cuban Revolution. She does things like goes and grows crops for Cuba to sell on the global market, watches the shoreline for invaders, and posts posters of political propaganda to show her support. Reviewing Pilar, she is Celia's 14-year-old daughter, or granddaughter, I'm sorry. She's very discontent with her life. She lives in Brooklyn with her mother and father. And she's kind of defiant, I'd say. Like her grandmother, she's not very religious. This appalls her mother. But she is spiritual. We see this from the telepathic communication that she has with Celia. And later in the book, she does things like uses herbs from a shop owner who gives them to her, I think, for healing. He also tells her that she should finish her unfinished plans, which she relates to her trip to Cuba, which she tried to run off and do when she was 14, but she ended up going back to Brooklyn. She only made it to Miami. She's definitely a bit of a rebel, and she really wants to return to Cuba and be with her grandmother, who she loves dearly. She's an artist. She definitely struggles to find her identity between being an American and being Cuban. And she completely detests how her mother wants to assimilate to American culture and go against the Cuban Revolution and the Cuban people. We also see throughout the book, like, different love affairs that she has. Lourdes is Pilar's mother. She's very religious and spiritual. In the book, her marriage is strained with her relationship as well as it is with her daughter. She was never close to her mother either. When her mother was committed to an insane asylum when she was a kid, She was gone for a few years, and when she came back, she was pretty withdrawn from life, including her children and her husband. So that makes Lourdes sort of resent her mom. When she was, however, close to her father. She became very, very, very close to her father, and was with her father when around the time he was dying in Brooklyn. When her father died, a spirit visited her often. He became the only thing she was really close with. Like him, Lourdes despised communism, and that is why she was against the Cuban Revolution. She really pitied her people. She wasn't against them, she pitied them. During the same time that Pilar was being told by the shop owner, familiar with Santeria, which was a spiritual belief prevalent with her family in Cuba, to return to Cuba, her grandfather's spirit tells her mother she must return too. Lourdes' sister Felicia just died. Her father's spirit wanted her to go make amends with her mother. He told her how he committed her to the asylum because he was jealous of her being in love with a past lover, Gustavo. We'll get to that later. And he explained that she received many harsh therapies there, and that is what caused her to be so withdrawn from the world. He explains that he loved Lourdes' mother very, very, very much, and how much Celia actually did love Lourdes. With Pilar's coaxing, they end up returning to Cuba.